I think a lot of people that have been viewers of mine over the years know that I spent a lot of my professional career in the litigation arena, and I can tell you that you'll go in for a hearing, a trial, and it's not unusual for something to come up and the judge to say, we're going to have to continue this for 2 days or till tomorrow or sometimes a week or whatever. And if you're a defendant and you've scraped together the money for a testifying expert, and maybe that expert is at Mass General or Miami or somewhere, you get the expert and they fly in. You have to pay for their time, round-trip airfare and lodging, and plus their time to be there. You do all that, then they get there and they go, oh, well, sorry, this is going to happen next Tuesday, not this Tuesday. Then they got to go home. Then you got to pay them again. And when they leave their practice or whatever, you have to pay for all of that. And then you have them come back. It could cost you anywhere from $5,000 to $50,000 to bring them back again. And so here he got the state to say, you've asked for a continuance, so you need to pay for our expert to come back. The court says yes, then they challenge it, so he can't have his expert again. It frustrates the hell out of me because prosecutors forget they're not paid to get convictions, they're paid to get justice. And if they're getting justice, then they should have a full hearing of all the evidence, all the experts, everybody on both sides, so somebody can understand exactly what happened on both sides. But that's not what they're after. They're not after justice, they're after a conviction. As Jason says, another notch in the belt. Let's mark this one down. Okay, so they go home with a win and they go to some bar and have a celebration. Yeah, we got a good conviction. We nailed this one. Yeah, but did you get justice? That's what you're paid to do. You work for the public. Did you get justice, or did you price a guy out of justice because you wouldn't let his expert get compensated and come back? And I think that's exactly what happened here. They priced him out and his expert can't come back. That should enrage everybody that's hearing it. That's prosecutorial abuse. They used their powers and persuaded the court and priced him out of having someone come in and testify as to the medical facts in this case. That's why I support him having a GoFundMe here to get the money to say to the court, no. They've set up a Give, Send, Go. I've got it up on the screen right now. It's givesendgo.com/free John Kinsel. What's the goal here? How much is he trying to raise so he gets a shot at justice after sitting in jail for 30-something years? How much does he need to raise here?
I mean, we're asking for $35,000, which is going to pay for, he needs 3 experts that are very pricey to prep and come down and stay in Louisiana and testify. At least it's going to be, each expert is going to be at least a day, which, as you know, Dr. Phil, could be 6 hours, which is, and then there's no guarantee that John is brought to court on time, and Jason knows how these post-conviction hearings go because of producing defendants from the state. So these are pricey endeavors, especially post-conviction, because of the difference between post-conviction and trial is no one is in a rush in post-conviction to do these hearings because they've already been convicted. So you have you have to deal with the prosecutor's trial schedule, you have to deal with the court's trial schedule, and sometimes the court has issues that'll take precedence over these post-conviction hearings. It's hard. And then you have to deal with the fact that corrections, oftentimes in every state that I've ever been in, which is, I don't know, it's over half a dozen practicing post-conviction work, has issues with bringing defendants to court. Because it's not like they're coming from the county jail. They're coming from a state prison. And sometimes corrections just doesn't bring them, or sometimes they bring them at 2 o'clock in the afternoon instead of 9 o'clock in the morning. So, I mean, this is, you need to have a war chest, so to speak. It's really unfortunate, which John did not have at trial. It was, in my opinion, gamesmanship what happened at trial. It absolutely is true. It was prosecutorial misconduct. It absolutely was. They bled him out essentially in order for him not to be able to defend himself. Okay, they stretched him thin, and that's what happened. We're not going to let that happen here.
And it's sad, Phil, because he was somebody who I think, like many people in your audience, was expecting that he would go to trial and his nightmare would be over. They'd see the truth. He was a law-abiding guy, and there was no crime committed. And I believe they would have seen the truth had these games not been played, and had he had a fair shot and had an expert. And now I look at it as $35,000 is what's the price of a life, right? And the life that, the lives that it'll touch, his relatives, his loved ones that he'll be able to be with, see his grandchildren, like play sports or whatever they do, go to their ballet, whatever they do, right? Karate, I don't know what they do, but whatever it is, he has every right to go and be a part of that family, his family. And 35,000, I want to put that in context. I mean, if we can save this man's life, and let him live out his days, in some degree of peace, that I would say that's the best money that could ever be spent. Now, it's also worth noting that Justin has been working on this case for years now, pro bono, right? So he's getting nothing out of this. You and I are getting nothing out of this. All we want, and our satisfaction and joy, is going to come from I'll be at that prison when he comes home. We'll walk him out together.
Oh,
I hope
betcha.
you'll join us there, and we'll be part of helping him get back into society and with whatever he may need. So, I think we all should want the scales of justice, as you said, to be tipped back in some kind of a fair way. And we can do that here for a small price. I mean, 35,000, that's what a used car. You can't even get a used car these days for that, right? So, I mean, if people can find it in their hearts, the give, send, go, by the way, if people aren't familiar, is used for legal, for cases, and you can't do this on GoFundMe. People may say, why isn't it GoFundMe? Well, give, send, go is the alternative that is the go-to for people who want to raise money for causes like this one. And I want to say too, Dr. Phil, this case, on top of the fact that we need these experts and we need to give him the fair shake that he was denied, however many years ago, decades ago that was. But let us also not forget that this should have never happened, because her mother had admitted from day one that she was a liar from the time she was a little kid. Some kids lie a lot, right? And that's part of growing up, and you learn that it's not right to do it, whatever. So her mom didn't think it made sense from the beginning. And then when the story evolved and she started changing the story, saying certain things happened at this person's house, that person's house, grandpa's house, the authorities never went to those places, never interviewed those people, never bothered to really look into it to find out, was there any truth to the story? And as the story kept changing and morphing and turning into different things, and it was inconsistent throughout, not only didn't they care, but let's not forget that they went to the mother and said, if you don't toe the line here, if you don't stop trying to, put some doubt into this process, we're going to take your other kids away. And that's not uncommon, unfortunately. That's a threat that they use in these cases to get somebody who's trying to do the right thing in this case, and often it is someone who's trying to do the right thing, to go along with their narrative that at some point, again, I have to say, I have to believe they must have known was a false narrative. And that's sickening. And last thing I'll say on this, Dr. Phil, is I believe, like I think you do, that we have an adversarial system where the prosecutor's trying to win and the defense attorney is trying to get justice for their client, innocent as they may be. And I believe what we need is an inquisitorial system where everyone is searching for the truth. And if we did, then these people would have access to experts. And as you said, Dr. Phil, if the trial has to be moved, then the government should be on the hook to say, okay, we're going to pay for this expert. We're going to level the playing field a little bit. It's never going to be even because the government has unlimited resources that they can devote to these things. And, you've got whatever you can, as you said, whatever you can scrape up.
$36 trillion. That is the U.S. debt, and it gets deeper and deeper by the day. Our debt has never been higher, nor have the stakes. The government is looking to slash the federal budget by $2 trillion, and no one knows what that will mean for your job, savings, and future. I've seen a lot in my time, and there's one thing I know for sure. You need to prepare before it's too late. I trust Preserve Gold to help protect my wealth, and I strongly urge you to do the same. They are the only precious metals firm I trust and recommend to my family, friends, and audience, and they have a special offer just for you. Text Dr. Phil to 50505 to get your free precious metals guide from Preserve Gold. With gold prices recently breaking records and analysts predicting this trend to continue throughout 2025, you cannot afford to wait. As a bonus, you can get up to $15,000 with a qualified purchase from Preserve Gold. So don't wait. Text Dr. Phil to 50505 today. We know that even the judge said at the time of the hearing, and this is a quote from the trial record, the judge said, "All I can say is you are the court's worst nightmare." I'm not sure I believe her about whether it happened or not, but I don't know at which time I'm supposed to believe her. I find that in no way can one convict absent her testimony. That is testimony that she has recanted. Here's your sworn statement. Recanted statement on October 20th, 2005. Question, what brought this statement forward? Alyssa, my mom and I had gotten into an argument one day. I remember so many details during court, during the trial, and now those details I can't even remember, not even a quarter of them. And the ones that I do remember, they don't make sense. Like me saying that he raped me numerous times at my grandfather's house. I slept in bed with my grandma most nights, and on the other side of the house from him. There was no way for him to get to me. There were 10 people living in the house. She's breaking this down and saying, this couldn't even have happened commonsensically. She's explaining even the geography of the house, the people around. She's saying this couldn't have happened. She said that nobody pressured her to come forward with this. She said straight up, John never raped, oral, anal, touched inappropriately. She says the prosecution pressured her testimony. She didn't want to testify. She said she can't remember it happening, so how can I say that it happened? How do you keep a man in jail for this long when there's no physical evidence of the crime happening? The person it supposedly happened to says it didn't happen, and puts herself in jeopardy to make it clear that it didn't happen. In the United States of America, if you deprive someone of their freedom, that comes at a very high standard. As well it should. If you're going to take somebody off the street and put them in a cage for the rest of their lives, the standard is that it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, to me, that means that 12 people go in a room and they look at the facts and there is not anything there about which 12 people could reasonably disagree. It's just very clear that there's nothing here to disagree about. It's obvious. And that just simply is not the case here. You've got somebody that is coming back and saying, look, I know what I said, but I was not telling the truth. You have very, let's just say, unclear medical testimony, and you've got a supposed victim who says no crime was committed. Then you have a prosecutor who says, I don't want the court to bring in an expert to opine on this. I don't want an expert to give their empirically backed opinion about what took place or didn't take place. I do not want that to become part of the record. leave this man in jail. I've got a problem with that. I'm sorry. I've got a problem with that.
Yeah, I wanted to quote from the Fifth Circuit of the United States also. The quote from the Fifth Circuit of the United States about the victim here is, it is beyond regrettable that this is a Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals judge, federal judge. It is beyond regrettable that a possibly innocent man will not receive a new trial in the face of preposterously unreliable testimony of the victim and sole eyewitness to the crime for which he was convicted. That is a federal judge saying that about
from the most conservative court in the country, by the way, right?
Yes.
That's the most conservative
Yes.
circuit court in the country. I think Phil would agree. And I wanted to say too, Dr. Phil, it's so great that you're doing this. And for the audience, I will tell you, there is no joy that I know of that exceeds the joy of helping an innocent people walk out the gates of a prison. And whether you're going to take the $5 you might have spent on a nice coffee drink, or, something greater that you can afford, I will maintain that you will feel, if you haven't been a part of something like this before, you should feel a part of this. And I hope you'll follow along with the case, and that you'll feel a sense of that same joy when John Kinsel walks out. Because if we can raise this money, he will walk out. I mean, Justin is a street fighter, and he has won case after case of innocent guys and women, I think. I don't know if you've had any women just don't commit as many crimes, so there aren't as many cases to work on, not even close. But so Justin, I don't know if you've had those. But he has helped many innocent people come home, and he does it on a shoestring. He does it out of the goodness of his heart. As I said, he's not getting paid for this. And I implore you, if you've got a few bucks or $100 or $1,000 to spare, you won't find a more gratifying, you won't find a better feeling than watching this good and decent and innocent man. And again, this is not a man who was a career criminal, who had done other things. And if he had been, he didn't deserve this. But this is a guy who was just a regular guy like anybody else, who got caught up in a lie that just grew and fed upon itself, and then was helped along by people who should have known better. And it makes us all sick. And so we're so grateful for anybody who can afford to support this effort. Let's raise this $35,000, and let's get this guy home.
Well, listen, I've just got a few minutes left here and I have to stop, but let me have the final word and finish by saying this. I have dealt with people that have been guilty of this crime. If I thought for a second that this man was guilty of this, I would say that they should put his ass under the jail and throw away the key. I have no compunction whatsoever of locking up somebody that has done the things that he was initially accused of putting him in jail and throwing away the key. No question about it. Jason, you know that I don't get behind these cases until I have done a deep dive. I got to study them. I got to look them in the eye. I got to know what's going on. I can't get behind them if I don't 100% believe in them completely. And you're right. I did go down there. I did sit in that courtroom. I did meet and look at and talk to everybody involved in this. And we're not asking for this man to be turned loose. He just needs a new trial. Personally, I would take the key, unlock him, and drive him home. I think he deserves to be let go. I don't think he should go through a new trial. I think he should be exonerated and sent home. I don't think he needed to spend one day in jail. And I can't tell you how many times over 20 plus years I've worked with stepfathers of rebellious teens or tweens where I've said to them, let me tell you something, buddy, you need to get out of there right now. You're here with this young girl. You shouldn't even go home on the same airplane. You should not live another night in the house with this child because you are in jeopardy. If they make an allegation against you, you could go down hard and wind up. Don't you even go home with these people. You need to get out right now. You are in jeopardy. I wish I had met him and could have said it to him, but sadly I did not. Let's set it straight now. Somebody has overreached in this case. You've got someone that has recanted, and I understand sometimes recantations happen for other reasons. They feel guilty, somebody else leans on them. That's not the case here. She is stuck with this for 20 plus years, and she doesn't even like him. This is a miscarriage of justice. And please, if you can help get an expert in here to support this, and you can give a few bucks to help, do so. I'm contributing my time and money, and these two men here are working tirelessly to do this. So please, you will give yourself a gift if you help this man walk out. I support him. I believe in him. And Jason, thank you for the work you do. We've worked on a lot of cases together. We've sweated down to 11:59 p.m. and hoped that we got relief. And I just believe this is one of those cases that it needs to happen. And Justin Bonus, thank you for what you're doing in this case. We're going to work until we get this man where he belongs, and that's home. Thank you both. And I plead to my viewers to help out here. And we'll have a link on the Dr. Phil podcast. It'll be on drphil.com. It'll be on meritstreetmedia.com. There will be links everywhere you can click and just give a few bucks any way that you can. Thank you, thank you, thank you.